Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I'm super excited about sharing this with you. Blueprint 2026, Building Realtor Success. So I did present this live last week with a group of agents, and I got really great feedback. Um, Most of it was, wow, this is something completely different than we've ever done in the past. So this is really goal setting for anyone. It's not going to be your basic, I'm a real estate agent. I want to make this much money. Let's work backwards and figure out what we need to do. So this is really goal setting for your entire life. So you should have received a workbook. So if you have that in front of you, hopefully you had a chance to print it out. If you don't have it in front of you, I did put the link in the chat, so you should have that as well. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So, just a little bit about me. I am married to my high school sweetheart. We celebrated 26 years this year. I am a mom to three. Addison is getting ready to turn 14. Grayson is 12 and AJ is 9. I am a disability advocate. So my middle son, Grayson, was born with Down syndrome, and our youngest, AJ, we adopted him in 2020, and he has a diagnosis of autism, ADHD, and apraxia. Last year, I was ranked in the top 100 for Orlando realtors. I am a real estate investor, and I'm also a certified coach. So since I have your captive attention, I wanted to share just a little bit about my 100% brokerage. Kelly French Real Estate opened a little over 3 years ago, and I chose the model for my brokerage as something that I wish I would have had when I was deciding whether or not I was going to open up my own brokerage. So we offer agents in our elite circle 100% commission with full independence to do your own thing. We're not going to tell you how you need to do things. It's a high achieving network of agents within the circle. We don't just kind of accept anyone. It really needs to be the right fit for us. And we just help you with a platform for freedom, growth, and success. A little bit more about the Elite Circle. So, as I mentioned before, it's 100% commission brokerage. So, you keep 100% of your commission always. There's just a $4.95 transaction fee per transaction. Most agents charge that or a portion of it directly to their buyers or sellers. And there's no additional fees. There's no desk fee. There's no additional monthly fees. It's always 100% commission. We do offer some private group support. We have some optional trainings that come out monthly, similar to this one that you're attending today. I do offer coaching to my agents. We have quarterly team events. And, looking back at, again, if I was at 100% brokerage, what are the things as a high performing agent that I would be looking for? One of the things is I know as business fluctuates, you may not always need a virtual assistant, but we do offer different monthly virtual assistant packages for marketing and social media, for pre-listing to listing. You have access to our preferred transaction coordinator as well as any of our vendor lists. A few upcoming classes that we have. So right now we have an ongoing virtual book club that is every Friday until November 7th at 9 a.m. It's virtual on Zoom. And right now we are reading Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. I also have a virtual webinar coming up on Wednesday, November 19th, that just talks about my 100% brokerage model. And on Wednesday, December 17th, we'll also be hosting a webinar that really just takes into account the main principles of the 12-week year and kind of how our team has used that over the past year and a half to achieve more within in less amount of time. So if you're on my email list, you should be getting invites to all of those. We would love to have you. And let's go ahead and get started. Um, so the first couple slides are not going to be in your workbook, but once we get into it, I will let you know. So again, if you need a copy of the workbook, it is in the chat and you can follow along there. So the first thing that we're going to do starting today is we're going to prime our subconscious by reflecting on wins. So what this does is that it'll prime our brains for confidence, for motivation, and for clarity, which is going to help us when we get into the goal setting process. We're going to have much stronger roots. And so again, why does priming our subconscious works? So it builds confidence and momentum. So when you reflect on some past achievements, you're reminding yourself that you can follow through and succeed on things. It strengthens your belief in your own abilities, which is critical when we're tackling new and sometimes intimidating goals. And success brings confidence to aim higher. Secondly, it shifts your mindset into the possibility mode. So, goal setting is about envisioning a future that doesn't exist yet. But if you start from a place of doubt or negativity, it's harder to think big. So, by celebrating our past wins, it's going to shift our brain into an optimistic and empowered state, making us more likely to set more bold and meaningful goals. Third, it activates the reward system in the brain. So remembering accomplishments triggers a dopamine release, which is the same feel-good neurotransmitter that is involved in motivation and learning. And this priming makes our brain more open to taking on new challenges and staying engaged in the process. Fourth, it provides evidence and clarity. So looking back at what worked well and what didn't work well gives us concrete data, and we can set goals based on strategies and habits that have already brought us success in the past. Number five, it creates gratitude and positive energy. So when you acknowledge how far you've come, you're not just setting goals from a place of lack, like what you don't have yet, but it comes from a place of abundance, like looking at what I've already built. So this energizes and sustains us through the ups and downs of working towards our new goals. So the first thing that we're going to do that's going to help prime our subconscious is called hindsight boards. So this is one of my favorite things to do when I get into goal setting is we're going to think back on wins or accomplishments from this year. And the easiest way that I have found to do this is by actually like take out your phone, and what I do is I just go to my photos, and then starting with January, I just do a search and I do January 2025. So it's coming up that in January 2025, I took 119 photos. So I'm just going to quickly scroll through those, and I'm going to find some that like makes me smile or was like, it reminds me of a great accomplishment I did. Like if it was a picture of you on vacation, obviously at some point that was a goal. And I usually try to do like three per month because any more than that kind of gets a little bit overwhelming. But that is what's on the first page of your workbook. And so I left some space for us to start in January. And you can either write down three different events or something that you are reminded by looking at the photos, or what I like to do, I call this my pro tip, is that I just create an album in my photos that says 2025 hindsight. So I've been doing this for, I think this is my third year. So I have a 2023, a 24, and a 25. And so as you're going through January, just click on those, add those to the folder, and then you can go on and do February, March, all the way through where we are now. So almost through the end of October. So I'm going to give us maybe like 5 minutes or so. I'm going to play some music, and you can either move those into your folder or you can write them on your workbook. And then just keep in mind there's I'm not going to probably give you enough time for all of the exercises that we do today. And there's kind of a reason to that. When you know that you have a set amount of time to do something, you're going to push and push to get out as much as you can. So we're just going to work ahead as much as we can today. And then you'll have the workbook and you'll have the recording that you can go back and finish up everything you weren't able to finalize today. So let's go ahead and let me play some music. And then we will, can you give me a thumbs up, Marlene, if you can hear the music? Maybe not. There you go. Good. Okay. We'll take about 5 minutes, start working on some of the hindsight, and then we'll come back to the workbook. Okay, we're gonna wrap up and we're gonna move on. So wherever you're at, go ahead and finish up. And then let me get back to sharing my screen. So hopefully you found some good reminders of things that you've accomplished in 2025 that you probably maybe would have forgot about if you didn't go back and look through your photos. So I mentioned my pro tip. So that's what my hindsight 2024 album looks like. And whoops, sorry about that. And it looks like I have 82 items in mine. So I guess I did a little bit more than the three per month. But it's always fun, even like if I'm having a bad day or if I'm struggling or if I feel like I'm not meeting my goals, it's always good to go back and celebrate the things that you did do that helps boost that dopamine for you. So again, with those, what we want to do is we want to reflect and celebrate. You know, you can think about experiences, like what did you appreciate most about yourself in this past year? What values do you hold about where you're at in your life right now? Successes. What was the biggest success you had this year? What did you learn from it? Um, and then there's also, let's see if I have this in your workbook. I do not, but like a good, um, something that you could do is like it's called a more or less chart. So basically just take a piece of paper, more on one side, less on the other side. What do you want to do more of in 2026? What do you want to do less of based on the lessons that you've learned this year? So then the next thing we're going to move on to, I think I like this one almost as much, if not more, than the hindsight boards is so we looked at everything that we have done. We thought of things that we maybe would have forgotten about um, on our hindsight boards, but now we're going to start priming our minds of things that we want to do and things that we want to accomplish next year. And this exercise is called the 111 list. So on the next page of your workbook, you have at the top, it says 111 list. And it's really that simple. It's writing down 111 items that you would like to accomplish in 26. It can be little, it can be small, but be specific. And don't disregard anything that comes to mind. It's very hard to come up with 111. Um, I do something very similar on my phone. I use um, Google Keep for like all of my notes. And I think I have this on the next sheet. Yep. So I take the notes and you can title it your 111 Life List for 2025. And what I like about using the Notes app is as you check them off when you do them, I will typically, like, let's say number two that's on there, watch both the sunrise and the sunset in the same day. So if I'm going to check that off that I did it, I like to put the month that I did it and then it keeps them at the bottom and there's just a line through it showing that you cross them off. So again, just like the hindsight, I like to go back through and look and it kind of puts a smile on my face of like all the cool things that I did throughout the year. Also, if my husband and I are doing a date night or we're planning something, I'll kind of go back to to this list and see if there's something that we can incorporate. Um, so some examples that I've had on previous ones would be eat dinner at a Michelin five-star restaurant, watch both the sunrise and sunset in the same day on both coasts, take the kids to a drive-in, take a yoga class on the beach, which I did last summer, which was super fun, take the kids to a splash pad. So it can be anything. It can be personal, it can be real estate related, it can be anything that you want it to be. Um, So we'll do another maybe 5 minutes or so. Again, just write down anything that comes to mind because what you're doing is you're priming your brain that, if you end up writing it down and even not even looking at this again, if you wait a couple months and you go back and you look at it, you'll be surprised at some of the things that it triggered your mind to start working on to make happen just because one time you wrote it down. So I'm going to go ahead and I think every time I turn music on, it moves my screen, but I'm going to go ahead and put the music back on. Yep, it does. That's okay. And let's work on our 111 lists. All right, let's go ahead and finish up the last one that you are doing. So if you have anything that you added to your 111 list that you want to share, go ahead and put it in the chat. And we will continue on. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you came up with some great lists of things that you want to accomplish in 2026. The important thing is to keep going back and looking at it and checking off the things that you do and just reviewing it because that's going to continue to just go into your subconsciousness and help your brain to figure out ways to make it happen without you even really knowing what is going on. All right, so then we are going to move on. If you go into Oh, if you go into your workbook after the 111 list, it does have that reflect and celebrate. So you can make those notes about those questions that I previously asked about what do you appreciate most about yourself this past year? What do you value about where you're at in your life right now? What the biggest success is that you had this year, what you learned from it. And then what was the biggest challenge that you had this year and what did you learn from it? And then that gives you some spots at the bottom for your what you want, your more or less chart. What do you want to do more of? What do you want to do less on? So let's just take a few minutes and you can jot down anything that comes to mind on the reflect and celebrate page. All right. And then moving on, our next page in our workbook is titled Reflection on Your Current State. So we always like to look at where we are at and then where we are going. So in your workbook, you're going to have a similar wheel that breaks down different areas of your life. And this is going to give us kind of a baseline of where we're at right now so that we know where we want to go. So in your workbook, your wheel has different lines on it. And what I would like you to do is let's take the first one, spiritual life. You're going to color in from the skinniest part of the circle all the way up as high as you feel that your baseline is right now for your spiritual life. And I'm going to kind of share my picture so that you can kind of see what it will look like when you're done. So hopefully you can see that. And so basically, this gives us a really good baseline of the areas that we think that we might want to focus on for this year. So you can see on mine that, what we want is it for to if ultimately for all of our 7 areas of life to be what we would say balanced. But you see, like right here, I don't even know which one that one is, physical health, because I need to start working out more. I marked that one down a little bit lower. And, if you think about this as a wheel, if one of those areas of your life are lower than the others, it's going to make the wheel not work, right? Right. So the idea is this will give us a baseline of where we need to get to so that all 7 of those areas are working together, giving us our best life. So take just a minute, kind of quickly, it doesn't have to be perfect, but wherever you think just by looking at this that you are, let's go ahead and color that in so that we can identify our baseline. And the seven different areas we're going to look at is spiritual life, physical, key relationships, our business, our finances, our job, and our personal life. So then we're going to go into framing. So in the framing portion, we're going to be looking back and saying things like, I've successfully built a client base before. I can do it again. Any past achievements that we are proud of and why? What experiences are we most grateful for and why? When in our lives have we felt most alive? What were we doing? What lights us up? What is the best thing that happened to us in 2025? Again, just from the beginning, when we talked about when we were priming our subconscious, this is just the reminder for ourselves that we've done these things before, we can do it again. So that when we go into goal setting and we start hearing some of those negative thoughts like, oh, I don't know, that sounds like a big goal. Do you think you can do it? Well, I've successfully did X before, so I know I can do it again by doing this. That's what we're getting for in this. So in your workbook, under the framing, looking back, you can answer a few of those questions. What past achievements are you most proud of? What past experiences are you grateful for? When in your life have you felt most alive? What's the best thing that happened to you in 2025? All right. So we framed looking back on things that we've done before. We know when we've done things in the past, we can always do them again. So now we're going to look at going forward, framing going forward. So thinking about where you're going to be in the next 12 months. Where do you see yourself? Example, in 12 months, I see myself running a fully booked portfolio of short-term rental investors. You want to create a clear picture of your future success and you want to speak as if it's already happening. So take a few minutes, whatever comes to mind, just jot down a couple sentences or a couple quick things that come to mind about where you see yourself in the next 12 months or what you see happening in 2026. Okay, the next, we're really going to start working on what our vision looks like. So in your workbook, I have thinking out 10 to 25 years and also 3 to 5 years. And so think about it for a moment, and one of those is going to feel better for you. You're either going to say, let's think about the next 3 to 5 years, and that makes you feel really good. And then you think, what's going to happen in the next 10 to 25 years? And it's going to feel very different. And you're going to feel like maybe you can't look out that far, or vice versa. 10 to 25 years feels good, 3 to 5 doesn't. Pick whichever one feels better to you. A couple years ago, after 2020 and 2021 for real estate agents in our area was very, very busy. It kind of happened in a blur. I don't really remember much, but during those times, like every goal I was setting, I was hitting. I would make a goal, I would hit it. I would make a goal, I would hit it. I didn't even have time to celebrate it because I was just moving on to the next goal. And when at the end of probably 2023, I was taking a coaching course, and we were told to look out for the next 3 to 5 years and figure and, kind of vision what we wanted to accomplish. And I was having a really hard time with that, and I was struggling. And so at the time, my coach had said, like, see if you can visualize out 10 to 25 years and then work backwards from that. And for some reason, at that time in my life, that worked better for me. Um, and so that was how I could kind of got out of my slump and was able to really go back into goal setting and looking into the future and setting some big goals. But like this year, I'm super excited about setting 3 to 5 year goals. So I think it's something that will always kind of just depend on where you're at in life. So whatever feels comfortable to you, you can either go to the 10 to 25 year page, or you can go to the 3 to 5 year page. And then what I would like to do here is just kind of make a reflection on each of those 7 life areas, about where you want to be in the next 10 to 25 years or 3 to 5 years. So just kind of go through each one of those life areas, make some reflections, make some notes, and then we'll move on from there. Okay, then next we are going to move on to there should be some reflection questions after the 10 to 25 years, but it's appropriate to also, if you jumped to the 3 to 5 years, to kind of go through some of these reflection questions. So something that I have enjoyed today that used to be seemingly impossible is, what does freedom mean to you? A time in my life when I had a lot of positive momentum is, And then what do you want your legacy to be? So these are also good priming questions as you reflect on your 3 to 5 and then and or 10 to 25. So then once we have those, I'm sure you don't have it complete yet, but once you have those, then we're going to move on to your 1 year plan. So you're going to do something very similar to what you just did in your 10 to 25 or your 3 to 5 is you're going to take a look at um, each of those life areas and reflect on each of those 7 categories to come up with some things that you want to accomplish um, in 2026. So go ahead, just jot a few items down, and then I'm going to share with you how my team goal sets for the year, which is based on the book, The 12-Week Year by Brian Moran. So go ahead, jot a few things down, and then we will go into that. Okay, then the next steps. So we've started big with 10 to 25, broken it down to 3 to 5, broken it down to one. Now what we're going to do is turn our 1 year plan into a 12-week action plan. So again, my team uses this based on the 12-week year by Brian Moran. And like what the book talks about is that it's shrinking your year into focused 12-week cycles. So right now, my team is in quarter four, 12-week year of, I think, week 3 or week 4. I can't remember. But basically, we take our entire year goals and we turn them into basically quarterly goals based on a 12-week cycle. And like what the book talks about and teaches is that you're really achieving 4 years of execution in one calendar year. Um, so in this system, 1 year equals 12 weeks, and it allows for a 12-week cycle and then a week off and then another 12-week cycle. And we set very focused goals because we tend to set goals at the beginning of the year. And let's say we're going to go to the gym 3 times a week. And if by February or March we haven't been hitting that goal, what do we typically do? We typically give up and just kind of stop working on that goal for the rest of the year. So in the 12-week year premise, you're only focusing on going to the gym 3 times a week for 12 weeks at a time. And so then by the time you do it your first quarter, you move into your second quarter, you're kind of establishing that as a habit. Or what I also teach my team is if we set a goal for going to the gym 3 times a week, in quarter one, and we find that we're only going to the gym twice a week, we have time to readjust our goals. So, if you readjust your goals and you're now going to the gym twice a week, that's still better than not going to the gym at all. So again, we follow the same premises of goal setting, that we make them specific, we make them measurable, as well as results driven. Um, so if you look at the very last couple pages in your workbook, I've actually given you a sample of what our 12-week year plan looks like. And I can always send you the Excel file digitally so that you can use it as well. But basically, you're just going to, um, if you look on the 12-week year, it has goal number one, number two, number three, number four. So we kind of break that down into areas of our life. So it could be personal development, nurturing and strengthening key relationships, job and business goal and tactics, finance goals, etc. So those are your goals, and then your tactics are going to be underneath. So for example, personal development could be that I'm going to read 10 pages of a business book or a self-improvement book every single day. So then you would write in there that this goal, the deadline for this goal is due on the last day of your 12-week year. And you're going to begin on whatever specific date and end. And then what we do is, so this is the first page. So this is you listing out all of your goals and your tactics for your 12-week year. Then what you'll do on our Excel file, this would be the first tab, and then there's weeks 1 through 12 on separate tabs next to it. So you break down each one of these goals and where they fall. Some may only fall in 1 week, some may fall every other week, some may fall every week. Then on our team calls every Monday, everybody kind of types into Slack what their goals, what their percentage was on um, the week prior. So the goal is 80% or higher. And we track these, and we kind of give out little incentives and stuff to our team based on who has the highest goal at the end of the 12-week year. But the point of it is that we aren't striving to be 100%. Our goal is 80%. And think about how much further along you'll be in your goals if you're hitting 80% of the goals that you are setting for yourself 4 times a year, like 4 different sets of goals. So we've been doing this for about a year and a half, and it's absolutely amazing and blows my mind at some of the goals that my teammates are setting and hitting. And so I just kind of wanted to share that with you. And then just a reminder that on Wednesday, December 17th, I am doing a free webinar on Zoom. It's just going to be talking all about the 12-week year so that we can get ourselves set up for a very strong 2026. So then it just ends with, thinking of every 12 weeks as a year. End each cycle with a review. Don't forget to celebrate, and then a reset with that week off. And then it gives you 4 chances to win every calendar year instead of just one. And it builds momentum at the end instead of I'll start later. You kind of have the mindset when you're setting a goal, and especially if it's, let's say, going to the gym 3 times a week. Well, I can go to the gym 3 times a week for 12 weeks. But when you say, can I go to the gym 3 times a week for an entire year? That feels so much heavier than just setting a goal for that short period of time for 12 years. So, oh, yeah, there we go. So I think this was from my webinar I did last week. So I think we are in week 4 for this year. And we actually the book says 80%. For some reason, we use an 85% accountability goal for our team. So that's what we set ourselves up against. So that does conclude our webinar for today. I know you probably are like, well, I didn't have nearly enough time to goal set and get everything done for the year that I need to get done. But just go back. You can rewatch this recording. You can go back through your workbook, fill that out. And if you would like the digital version of the 12-week year, I'd be happy to share that for you, and would love to get you on the 12-week year system that we are. So as always, feel free to reach out if you have any questions and look out for other emails of free webinars that we have coming up. We have a lot of great content coming, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Thank you. Bye.